the residential real estate markets. On the office and the retail, it is taking a little bit more time, but I'm sure very confident the way that we're seeing the numbers, the inquiries, the RFPs that are coming out on the office from US multinationals, that should be back very, very quickly. As we have a beautiful set of panel, I had 10 minutes of commentary to speak, but I think we've sort of lost the first 10 minutes, so I'm not going to speak about my commentary. I'm going to go straight into the Q&A, starting Gitambar with you, because you are really in a market which is NCR that has a character of its own, which doesn't necessarily resemble the rest of India. What we have noticed, Gitambar, from a lot of the ill wills that had happened in the market in the last 5-6 months, we're starting to see positivity that is emerging, more particularly in the Noida, Greater Noida area, which is where ATS, your company, really specializes. What do you think has started to change in that micro market?
So thank you, Anuj, and hello to everybody in the session. So see, Anuj, the thing is that the NCR has the demand flowing from the entire north of the country. It's the entire north part wants to have some sort of a foothold in the NCR when it comes to housing, because the children might go to college here or they might work here. So everybody has a aspiration to own a property here. So that's why the NCR market is a very interesting market, and you have the entire spectrum of the demand pyramid. You got the right top of the pyramid, the high-end ultra luxury, and you also have the middle segment is of course very robust. There would be a preference for the base of the pyramid, where government is coming up with EWS schemes and LIG schemes, government of Uttar Pradesh, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and government of Haryana. What has changed? What has changed in the last 4 or 5 months is it's definitely becoming very, very positive. And I think in the entire real estate story, the NCR story is the one which has been most visible when it came to failures, bad deliveries, bad stories, probably because we are so much in the eye of the media here, and of course the central government is here, the judiciary is here. What has really changed is that in the last 2 years, Anuj, everybody has become more educated, be it the buyer, because they've seen resolutions in NCLT of their projects. They've seen hearings in the Supreme Court of their projects, and they've understood why this failure happened. The developers, of course, most of them are very much here, and they're actually serving whatever punishment was due or whatever was due, right or wrong. But the buyer has become more discerning and understands now that if you get a product at a very cheap price, it may not be delivered. So now they have become more intelligent in their choosing of the right product, and they will not now go for these unusual discounts.
Correct.
It seems that you're getting a great deal, but you may not get that house. This is what happened in the past. So therefore, they are also seeing that the developer side has become more transparent vis-a-vis financial closure. So the institutions which are backing the developers today in the projects in the NCR have made sure that there is financial closure. And if required, and we as an organization are actually, talking to our buyers, and they ask us, how is it going to be? Where's the financial closure? So we actually have very candid discussions with the group of buyers and tell them, oh, this is how it's going to be, delivered. This is the cash flow. This is what we're getting from the institution. And only when they're convinced, then social media is so powerful today that once this message goes out that this project is doing well, and, we are, even if it's a launch, and if you have an institution with by your side to actually support your financial closure, you couldn't have a better story, because as I said, the demand over here is very robust. It's only that because of the bad stories in the past, because of whatever reason, and all of us are to blame as an industry, there was a lot of bad delivery and bad blood between the buyer community and the developer community, rightly so. And now we are actually reaching a place where both stakeholders are understanding that if deliveries are to be made, then these are the parameters which need to be focused on, and that's how you'll get your apartment or your house. So and one big thing that has helped is the government's initiative vis-a-vis SWAMI. Irfan is on panel. because wherever SWAMI is there, the buyer is confident that there's 100% financial closure.
Yes, yes.
Initially, Anuj, and I must say this, initially there was a reservation amongst developers. Oh, if I take SWAMI, I'll be known as a stressed developer. So, but that is not so now. I mean, I would love to have SWAMI in most of our projects. Why not? If there's financial closure, then there's financial closure. So that is why you're seeing this positivity. It's still in the nascent stage. There's a huge amount of headroom because the demand is so robust. Now, Noida area, because you see, we are looking at a new airport here. That will bring in, more job opportunities. Manufacturing is set to take off here because from what we hear, the initiative of the government, this Make in India initiative, is really going to be enforced or be very, very aggressively implemented by government, both in Haryana, Gurgaon, and Noida, UP. So I think people are seeing that happen. So they're saying we must have a foothold here in this geography. And the offer on the plate is huge. You got all spectrums of the supply pyramid. So therefore, you are seeing this positivity.
Yes. So Gitamba, one point that you say is, which is very interesting. You said is that the buyers are now coming in to understand financial closure and how that is going to be done. Prior to this entire thing, buyers would not come in. Is it? They were only looking at the pricing and they would only decide basis the pricing. Is that what the difference is?
Yes, that too. And also, you see, now they have become more educated about the costing. If somebody is selling them a product which is extremely, looks very attractive, but it's very, very low priced.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm telling you this. They ask us they'll go and ask the developer, how is this going to be completed? Because your construction cost is so much, your land cost is so much. Because in the group they have lawyers, they've got engineers, they've got chartered accountants, and it's people like you and me who are in the group. You see. And rightly so. I think we are headed to regime, or what should I say, an ecosystem where we'll all work together to be more compliant and better governed, because we are under the scrutiny now properly, and it's good also, I would say. First it was just the institutions, now it's also the buyers. So I think we are headed to a place where you will not see bad deliveries going forth.
Gitambar, sort of last question before I move on. The pendulum in NCR was really on one side, which was really the developer side. It does appear that the pendulum sort of swung a little bit to the other side, and perhaps it does need to come in the middle. Would you be in agreement? And it could be on various things. Whether it is the buyers, whether it's the authorities, the compliances, the judiciary, the media, or whoever it is. I'm just saying or you think is that it's important for the pendulum to go a little bit on the other side before it actually starts to come in the middle?
No, I think, Anuj, you asked a very pertinent question. And, over-regulation never helps. We have to perform. As an industry, we need to perform. But, if you ask most people here on the panel, more than 50% of your time, if it goes into litigations and, it goes into media handling and it goes into firefighting, then when do you actually focus on your business? So I feel this pendulum needs to be centered so that we can actually perform better. And, it is changing. I'll tell you how. In one of our own projects in Punjab, we also, because after COVID, there was a project got stalled. And there was enough juice in the project. It's just that people weren't willing to see a stalled project and give payment also for the installments. So I actually went and spoke with my buyers, and I said, see, if we do a pool and build, you got two choices. We can either go into litigation in NCLT, but let's pool and build, and we'll have a very regulated, strong, disciplined system of disbursal of that money. And the institution sitting there said, okay, we will also monitor. And now the project is on with the, they said, we don't want to go into litigation. We don't want to go to any NCLT or anywhere else. Let's work together. So this is a very, good example of the pendulum being in the middle. So now we get delivery in about the next 6 to 8 months. So everybody understands it's a win-win situation if the pendulum is in the middle. This way or this way, nobody really gains.
Yeah, but my quick last one, Gitambar. You're quite prevalent in tier 2 and maybe even tier 3 cities. How have those cities behaved during this COVID time?
So there is, in tier 2 and tier 3, there's not much of a demand for high rise, because now suddenly, everybody is looking at horizontal development. And But yes, I think going forward there will be again demand for condominium living, because that community gives itself itself provides a security and an ecosystem where everybody would like to live. The only problem, Anuj, in tier 2 and tier 3 cities is the price points. It's very, very, very price sensitive. Now, with this escalation in raw material and inflation going the other way, I don't know how well tier 2, tier 3 will be able to deliver on the promise of price. So that is one challenge which we see. Otherwise, the demand everywhere is there, because post-COVID, Anuj, ghar has become very important.
That's true.
And a decent sized ghar. I was talking to somebody who said, I need a ghar where my kids, I have to talk on the phone, and if they're shouting and screaming, so I need a room for myself where I can just go and talk on the phone. So that has taken top priority over everything else. And so I think everywhere you see a kind of rise in demand and traction everywhere, even in tier 2 and tier 3.
Wonderful. Mr. Jaishankar, you're based out of perhaps the most vibrant market of India, Bangalore. Certainly on the office side, it's the most vibrant. And over a period of years, I have seen it is the most resilient real estate market. I would say, what is it that goes for Bangalore that it remains so resilient? Is it that when euphoria is there, it is not euphoric, and when the downturn comes, it doesn't get hurt that much? Sorry, you are on mute, sir.
Anuj, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be on the panel. In a lighter vein, I can say, let the secret be with only Bangalore developers. No, see, but the fact is, Bangalore is substantially IT dependent, and the market business, and IT has performed very well, and it has been robust. So that way we have a lot of business from professionals, which is, consistency is there, and there is a predictability, and based on job creations, etc. And the price for the quality we give, it is very, very reasonable in my sincere opinion, as compared to maybe other cities and sectors. The value for money is great in Bangalore. For that matter, maybe in other cities also, as perceived by individual developers. But we developers in Bangalore, and for that matter in South, operate with fairly thin margins. And as Gitambar was mentioning, the clients know all your land cost and construction cost and overheads, things like that. We've been operating with which is known, because listed developers results are there. Most of us are in a single digit, or at best 10% maybe. That is one, and there is a good track record of delivering projects by quite a few developers. It's not just by the top 10 or anything. Even more than that, quite a few are able to deliver. That is what is sustaining Bangalore demand, I feel.
And sir, as this cost continues to go up, we are hearing with inflation worldwide, and India is no exception. And then on the other hand, if you do look at many of the listed developers' balance sheet, it's a single-digit profit margin that is being made. Do you think you would be able to pass on this increase in the cost to the customer, and the customer has the ability to be able to absorb it? And perhaps to what extent?
Yeah, see, I think whether a customer likes it or not, the developers, for pure survival, they need to pass it on. And I would also say customers' ability to absorb is higher during the last 2 years. As you know, the disposable income due to the pandemic, where a lot of people have not spent their money for travel and entertainment. So the savings rate has become high, not just in Bangalore, across the country. That is one of the reasons why there is demand for a 2-bedroom person wanting a 3-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom person wanting a 4-bedroom. That is, in my opinion, one of the reasons. And I think even bankers who manage salary accounts of professionals in corporates, they all uniformly say account balances have really shot up in the last 2 years. So that way, their ability to absorb, the fact that they are shifting from a small to medium-sized unit to a larger unit means that their affordability or ability to own a larger unit, a higher value unit has become more. So that way, if there is a real genuine reason for the prices to go up due to increase in steel or aluminum, copper, which all go into the construction sector, and the impact of a huge jump in petroleum products, which has wide-ranging impact. I think customers will definitely be able to absorb, and though there could be some resistance initially, but if it happens uniformly across the sector, there is no option but to absorb.
Yeah. And then, sir, how much do you think the customer has an ability to be able to absorb as a percentage of the sale price?
I think it's up to 10% should be okay, is what I feel. Though initially it may not happen overnight 10%, but I think maybe for 5 to 6% initially. Even in the last 1 year, many of our project prices we have increased by 5 to 6%, or in quite a few cases. I can't say across the board, quite a few cases.
And the sales momentum hasn't dropped.
By and large hasn't dropped, except there is whenever there is a lockdown or partial lockdown, like even in January, there was some amount of stress was there. The pace of bookings would have come down during the weekend lockdowns, etc. But I think it is reviving again.
So today, it's always easy to look in the rear view mirror and say, oh, we knew that, this was going to bounce back. And, it's exceptional. Gadambar mentioned it, that, home is a need, which we always knew. I just want to recount, March 2020, when the lockdown happened. What were the thoughts that were going across your listed, company, the thought of where we are going to be in this will be interesting for our audience to understand. Today we all are sort of with a 42-inch chest that, this is an exceptional, sector and doing very well. But it'll be nice to understand what was going in your mind in March 2020.
So, it's a good question, Anuj, and I'm happy to share at least what we thought and what I thought during that period, and what I communicated to my team. Was the three aspects. First is survival, then is stabilize, and then grow. Those are the three things I said, particularly during the first lockdown. So survival was important. Survival in the sense, it's not that we are going to go away, but the challenges were huge, and it was once in 100 years happening. So it's not many knew where this will take us. And everybody was talking of Spanish flu, etc. But the impact of Chinese flu must have been much more than the Spanish flu, And but overall things looked up, which was what happened subsequent to the first lockdown was a surprise to most, at least to us also. And so say probably in the second time when the lockdown happened, again there was another shock. But at the middle class and upper class, I think they were much more affected in the second lockdown or the virus. Then it recovered, and thanks to the fantastic vaccination program of the government of India, there is the resilience among the people is there, and they were not so much affected by Omicron.
My last question, sir. Are you seeing benefit of a listed developer coming to you through this entire consolidation that is happening?
It is, I can't say we have not seen, personally we have not seen, but there are a couple of developers who would have seen. But I would say the tier 2 developers or tier 3 developers, many of them may be down, but they are not out. I would put it as they are not out, and they may be lying low, And in the real estate sector, the entry barrier is not much. There is no entry barrier. You can be a developer of 10,000 square feet, a developer for 10 acres or 100 acres. But everybody has a product to offer, and there is a segment to meet the demand. And that is why even the top 10 developers in the every city may not be having a market share of more than I would say 1/3, more than the 30-35% market share. I don't think any city can boast of by the top 10 developers. I don't know about Mumbai, but generally, even Bangalore may be having about the 30-33%. Even Chennai, Hyderabad has got even less than 30%. So that way, that means there is a big percentage demand is met by different categories of developers. So that way, yeah. So that way, when some people who have been badly affected by this, the last 2 years of pandemic, it does not mean they will fully exit, and they may come back. That way, we have seen in the best of times, large corporate-centered real estate. I don't want to get into the names, but many of them exited very fast. Very few large corporates have survived and done fantastically well, like Godrej.
That takes me to Mohit very nicely. Mohit, apart from your good looks, what continues to make you as the darling of the investor community? I mean, a lot of people on the screen would want to know, what is that rahasya of Mohit being the darling of the stock market and the investor community?
No. First of all, thanks, Anuj, for the invite, and thanks. Very happy to be part of this esteemed panel. I don't think there's any secret. I think all the stocks are doing very well in the stock market today. I think what stock market and the investors have liked is the consistent delivery, which has happened over the years. I think the other thing which has been appreciated is the growth. Our strategy was to be amongst the top 3 or 4 players in each of the geographies, and very happy to see that in all the markets, NCR and Bangalore, we are amongst the top 2 or top 3 player. Bangalore, we must be number 4, and Pune, we are number 1. Mumbai, we are around number 3, number 4. So I think all these geographies we have been able to scale up and grow, which has been appreciated by the set of investors. It gives you a diversified experience or portfolio within India, and of course corporate governance is critical for any listed company or any major developer to succeed. So many things Anuj has gone into, but I'm very happy with the way organization has kind of got built and is ready to scale up the next set of positive wave, which we have all been talking about since the last couple of minutes.
Mohit, that is a big learning thing. I was speaking with Mr. Jaishankar, a few weeks ago, likewise with Mr. Pradeep Agarwal, and I was asking them that, are you going to expand? For example, I had a couple of weeks ago breakfast with Mr. Jaishankar in Bombay, and I said, are you going to come to Bombay? He said, not in my lifetime. I will, if the daughters want to come, that's okay. I asked Mr. Pradeep Agarwal the other day, I said, are you going to expand from your geography? Everyone is so reluctant to be able to expand because getting the organizational structure really, it's not that they don't see the opportunity, or it's not that the brand is not recognizable, or the construction is done differently in a particular city. It'll be really nice, Mohit, to really understand that how do you make this organization work so beautifully in so many cities, and yet have such a beautiful corporate governance system.
Yeah, I think Anuj, a couple of points. When we did our IPO in 2010, we were actually in 12 cities. And, we took a conscious call in 2011 that, and we used to run this business from the head office, right? So imagine there are 12 cities and one center running these projects. We all felt it was a recipe for a disaster, because fundamentally real estate is a local business. I think everyone in this forum kind of accepts and appreciates it. So we have said, look, if this is a local business, we have to run it locally. And our thought process, Anuj, from the day one was, you need a large organization to run this business. It's not a business which is lean. So we cannot be in so many cities. So we concentrated and said, let's focus on the top 4 cities of the country, because there is enough scale in each of these cities. And the largest developers in each of these cities were actually very, very large players. The second step was, let's build teams in these cities and decentralize.
Oh, okay. So that's a big thing, decentralizing, Mohit.
Yeah, so this process started somewhere in 2012-13, where we started building these teams. I actually, was heading the NCR region in 2012-13 when we started building NCR region. We had a one project region at that point of time. And I remember when I joined this business, we were having 20 people. Today, we have close to 400, 500 odd people in NCR itself. And around 15 odd projects. So the focus was build these regions, decentralize, and move the decision making from head office to the local businesses. So that has been something which has really helped. The other thing was that we said 3 things we will always keep central. One was brand, because of course, Godrej brand is something which is a pan-India brand, and we won't allow anyone to handle the brand differently. The second was capital. Both capital raising, investment decisions were all centrally driven by us from the head office. And third was the whole people decisions. We encourage a lot of people moving across cities and the cross learnings flow. So it was a very conscious decision to build an organization, decentralized decision making, create systems and processes which were consistent, and of course, create controls, because this business can go haywire very fast. So how do we manage and control every geography? And so I think IT systems and data management systems played a very large role. And then lastly, obviously, business is all finally run by people. And idea was, can we create set of entrepreneurs, CEOs in each of these geographies, and allow them to expand this business, think like a promoter. So I think those were a couple of decisions which has helped us. This is a journey. If I look at any one of the players here, whether it is Gitambar or Jaishankar, we are very tiny fragment compared to what they are in their local market. So it also excites us that there's a large opportunity for us to grow. But I think that has been the way we took this thing forward.
But huge learning, Mohit. So 3 things that you're saying is that you kept central. One was the brand, which absolutely. Second, you're saying is the investment, so capital raise and deployment. And third is the people that you're hiring clearly at a senior level that needs to have the approval, because they are the guys that you are empowering. And if that's a wrong guy whom the region is getting into the system, then there is going to be all sorts of problems that will get created. I've learned quite a bit on that here. Nice. But just continuing with this, a couple of other questions. Are you looking to expand now beyond the sort of 4 or 5 cities that you are? Because I'd heard that on the plotted development, the thought is that you do want to perhaps go into some of the other cities to try and do that.
Yeah, I think the vision was to be amongst the top players in each of these geographies. Each geography is now, we feel we have a reasonable scale. There is immense opportunity in each market. So we would continue to, grow deeper in all these geographies, but at the same time, we feel there is also a time where we could look at new cities. And we are chosen to move through plotted developments in some of these cities. We're also looking at new cities. If there are large transactions at one go, we can pick up scale. we would like to do that. But I think the learning is, we need to run these cities as an independent P&L. So the scale has to justify, Anuj. We won't just pick up one project and then try to do it from any other place.
My last question, Mohit, things are going very well, fingers crossed, barring the Russia, Ukraine, hopefully it should not have much impact in India. What else do you think can create an impediment, to this smooth sailing that we are having at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think in our industry, it's a very easy question to answer, because definitely something will come in, which will be a surprise for all of us. But I think we have all shown how resilient is our industry. We have withstood many crises over the last 10 years, COVID being the last one. I feel, honestly speaking, I am, very optimistic from here on. And I feel the worst is behind us. And there would be challenges. You could have oil price shock coming in future. But I think we are now a much stronger bunch of players who are left behind. And I think the markets are positively turning in favor. So overall, Anuj, I'm very optimistic and positive about the industry now.
And then Mohit, this cycle will be sort of how long, in your opinion?
I think I'm the youngest and most inexperienced person in this forum. So probably leave that, to you, Anuj, and Gitambar and Mr. Jaishankar, because predicting a cycle is a very difficult one. But clearly, I think we are in a very positive space after almost 8 to 10 years of a negative cycle. So next couple of years, in my view, is a golden era for Indian real estate, especially residential.
Pradeep, this is a beautiful platform for you to go into the listing space. Mohit is saying this is the best golden era for Indian real estate. Right opportunity for Signature Global to list it. Is that going to happen within this calendar year?
So thanks Anuj for inviting me. So मुझे लगा था कि पहला जो बॉल है वो आपका बाउंसर आने वाला है. I know. So yes, of course we are trying. लेकिन इसमें 2-3 चीजें भी जो recently कुछ डेवलप हुई हैं, उसमें एक तो इन्फ्लेशन बहुत बड़ा कंसर्न है. जैसा अभी मोहित ने भी कहा कि बहुत, क्योंकि आने वाले टाइम में जैसे भी ये जो प्राइसेस इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं क्रूड की, तो एक पूरा ओवरऑल कंट्री के ऊपर एक बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट, पूरे वर्ल्ड वाइड इम्पैक्ट आने वाला है इसका. एंड ग्लोबल जो ग्रोथ है वो भी एक बहुत बड़ा कंसर्न कहीं ना कहीं रहा है, कि क्योंकि एज ए बहुत लार्ज स्केल पे इसका कहीं ना कहीं एक थोड़ा सा कंसर्न आने वाले हैं. तो थर्ड थिंग, जो अभी जो रशिया और यूक्रेन का जो वॉर चल रहा है, ये किस लेवल तक एक्सलेट होगा ये कहना, प्रेडिक्ट करना बड़ा मुश्किल है. क्योंकि जैसी सिचुएशन आज आप देख रहे हैं कि एवरी नाइट जब आप मॉर्निंग में टीवी ऑन करते हैं तो कुछ नया आपको डेवलपमेंट नजर आता है. ऐसा लगता है कि अगर कुछ ऐसा हो गया जो अनएक्सपेक्टेड है, तो कोई भी इंडस्ट्री हो उस वक्त यानी सर्वाइवल मोड रह जाएगा, बाकी सारी चीजें मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं. सो ऑफ कोर्स लिस्टिंग के लिए ऑलवेज आप बेटर टाइम देखते रहते हैं. अभी जो सिचुएशन है वो सिचुएशन तो मुझे नहीं लगता इट्स ए राइट सिचुएशन है, लेकिन अभी भी क्रॉस फिंगर की शायद ये जितनी चीजें हैं, जैसे ही ये शटडाउन होंगी, खत्म होगा ये सारा का सारा, तो जैसा मोहित ने भी कहा कि ये वर्स्ट है, अब ये खत्म हो चुका है, ये शायद आने वाले टाइम में और ज्यादा बेहतर नजर आएगा. सो ऑफ कोर्स सबकी ब्लेसिंग्स के साथ हम आगे चलेंगे जरूर. थैंक यू.
बिल्कुल ठीक बोला प्रदीप जी. आई मीन आल्सो यू हैव टू सी कि मार्केट का क्या एबिलिटी है टू बी एबल टू एक्सेप्ट इट. प्रदीप जी, एक बात बताओ, मैं जितने भी डेवलपर से व्हेन आई स्पीक विद देम, बोलते यार अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग में कैसे पैसा बनता है, बड़ा मुश्किल है, समझ नहीं आती. आप अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के किंग हैं, एंड वो भी एनसीआर मार्केट के अंदर.
सॉरी, वी आर नॉट किंग एक्चुअली. Yeah, just customer is king actually. So
तो कैसे पैसा कमाते हो सर आप अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग में?
तो देखिए, सबसे बड़ा सिंपल मेथड है कि जो स्केलेबिलिटी है वो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग में बहुत ज्यादा है. जैसा कि अब देखिए कि अभी जो हमारी जो कंपनी है, इट्स ए होम मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी, इट्स नॉट ए रियल एस्टेट कंपनी। क्योंकि नॉर्मली क्या है कि जो डेवलपर का माइंडसेट है वो है कि वी आर द डेवलपर्स। मुझे लगता है शायद क्योंकि इस डिकेड ने, जो पिछले 2010 से 20 का जो डिकेड गया है, उसने एंटायरली रियल एस्टेट को चेंज कर दिया है। और ये जो डिकेड है जो आ रहा है, इसमें मुझे लगता है कि रियल एस्टेट में जो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग है वो एक कहीं ना कहीं ड्राइवर बनकर आगे निकलेगा। क्योंकि ये मेरी, क्योंकि बिकॉज मैं बायस हूँ थोड़ा सा, तो मुझे ये कहना पड़ रहा है। इसका रीजन बहुत साफ है कि जो बॉटम द पिरामिड है वहां पे थ्रस्ट बहुत ज्यादा है, और जो मोस्टली डेवलपर्स हैं उनकी जो टिकट साइज हैं वो अबव 1 करोड़ हैं। इवन मेट्रो सिटीज की बात करें तो शायद बॉम्बे जैसी सिटी में तो और ज्यादा हैं, लेकिन अगर और दूसरी सिटी लाइक दिल्ली एनसीआर और अगर अदर सिटीज मेट्रो सिटीज की बात करें तो वहां 1 करोड़ रुपए का जो प्राइस है वो बहुत नॉमिनल है। और ऐसे में बिकॉज ऑफ हरियाणा गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी कुछ ऐसी चीजें यहाँ पे क्रिएट हुई हैं जो अनएक्सपेक्टेड थी। लाइक क्योंकि अभी 2 BHK यूनिट की जो कीमत है गुरुग्राम मेन एरिया में आप 25 लाख रुपीस में डिलीवर कर सकते हैं। वाह। ऐसी सेम पॉलिसी एक दीनदयाल जन आवास योजना के नाम से गवर्नमेंट ने इंट्रोड्यूस की है लास्ट 2-3 इयर्स में। उसके अंदर भी जो उनका एक जो फ्लोर काइंड ऑफ कोठी के फ्लोर काइंड ऑफ डेवलपमेंट है वो, तो उसके अंदर भी लगभग 50-60 लाख रुपए में 3 BHK यूनिट इजीली यू कैन डिलीवर। केवल और केवल की है कि स्केलेबिलिटी, क्योंकि जब आप ऑफ कोर्स अगर वॉल्यूम गेम करते हैं जिसमें आप ज्यादा से ज्यादा वॉल्यूम के साथ काम करें, मार्जिन जरूर थिन है, लेकिन क्योंकि आपकी परचेजिंग पावर कहीं ना कहीं बढ़ जाती है, एक जो बार्गेन है वो आपकी विद द वेंडर्स बढ़ जाती है। इवन चाहे कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है उनके साथ भी आपका एक जो मैकेनिज्म है वो डिफरेंट लाइन पे सेट होता है। सो और एक इससे भी बड़ी बात, टेक्नोलॉजी जो है उसका इन्वॉल्वमेंट ज्यादा हो गया है इस बार, क्योंकि रियल एस्टेट ऐसा टाइम नहीं है कि जो 5 से 7 साल तक वो बनता रहे। ये ऐसा टाइम है यहाँ आप 2 से 3 साल में आप इसे बनाएं, डिलीवर करें, उसको उसका घर दें, और वो भी हैप्पी है और जो डेवलपर है वो भी पैसा उसके अंदर कुछ ना कुछ बनाएगा। एंड द सेकंड थिंग, जो होम लोन रेट्स हैं, आप देखिए पूरे 2 डिकेड में होम लोन रेट्स, मुझे नहीं लगता कि एक बार 2008 में शायद कुछ टाइम के लिए 10-15 दिन के लिए होम लोन रेट्स ये नजर आए थे। ये सबसे लॉन्गर टाइम है जब 6.5% के ऊपर लगभग 1.5 ईयर से कंटिन्यूअस चल रहे हैं। तो ऐसे में जो आम इंसान को खरीदने का जो पावर है वो कहीं ना कहीं बहुत स्ट्रांग हो गया है। और दूसरी बड़ी बात कि रेरा आने के बाद जो डेवलपर्स हैं, वो जो सिंसियर डेवलपर्स हैं वही बाजार के अंदर काम कर पा रहे हैं। जो फ्लाई बाय नाइट वाले डेवलपर्स थे, जहां कहीं ना कहीं कस्टमर्स को थोड़ा एक यानी अनसर्टेनिटी रहती थी कि प्राइस अगर डिस्काउंट पे भी मिल रहा है तो क्या डिलीवर होगा या नहीं होगा। सो जो इस वक्त की मार्केट है वो ऐसी हो गई कि राइट साइज, राइट प्राइस और राइट लोकेशन अगर आप ये डिलीवर कर रहे हैं, तो जो थ्रस्ट है मार्केट का वो अनबिलीवेबल है। मैं एक प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में आपको बताना चाहूंगा कि लास्ट मंथ एक प्रोजेक्ट हमने डिलीवर किया 814 यूनिट का, एंड कैन यू इमेजिन कि विद इन 24 आवर्स टोटल जो प्रोजेक्ट था, विद इन 24 आवर्स लोगों ने ऑनलाइन ही डिजिटली, यानी आप देखिए कि फिजिकल नहीं डिजिटली लोगों ने ऑनलाइन से अप्लाई कर दिया, यानी ओवर सब्सक्राइब हो गया वो 1.5 टाइम विद इन 24 आवर्स। सो इट्स नॉट ए रियल एस्टेट। तो रियल एस्टेट जो है वो बिल्कुल डिफरेंट लाइन में चला है। तो मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं जो अफोर्डेबल है वो इसलिए सक्सेस है कि इसके अंदर थोड़ा सा स्केलेबिलिटी है, सेल जो है वो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज नहीं है, और आप अगर जितनी जल्दी बनाकर डिलीवर कर सकें तो वो कहीं ना कहीं आपके सक्सेस का की हो सकता है।
प्रदीप जी, आप अपनी कंपनी में क्या बोलते हो लोगों के कि बॉस इससे कॉशियस रहो, ये 2 चीजें हैं that can create problem in your company, क्या चीजें होंगी वो?
देखिए बिल्कुल कंपनी में सबसे बड़ी चीज है जो कस्टमर से जो कमिटमेंट आप कर रहे हैं फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, क्योंकि जैसा भी मोहित ने भी कहा कि जो ब्रांड वैल्यू है वो ब्रांड वैल्यू आपको बनाने में ना बहुत टाइम लग जाता है, लेकिन उसको खत्म होने में कुछ टाइम लगता है। उसके बाद सब कुछ यानी आप दोबारा से उसे बनाना भी चाहें तो आप जो कस्टमर से, यानी जितने भी हमारे टॉप से लेके बॉटम तक एग्जीक्यूटिव लेवल तक भी है उनसे कि जो भी कमिटमेंट आप यहाँ पे इस टेबल पर कर रहे हैं वो कंपनी ने जो नोटिफाई कर रखे हैं वही कमिटमेंट होने चाहिए। कस्टमर जो है वो किसी भी कंडीशन में चीट फील नहीं करना चाहिए, क्योंकि आप एक माइंडसेट देखिए कि जो ये 20-25 लाख रुपए या 50 लाख रुपए के घर लेने वाले लोग हैं, ये बहुत सेंसिटिव हैं। इन लोगों को, इनके लिए 1000 रुपए भी बहुत मायना रखता है कि आज आप कोई प्राइस उनको कोट करने के बाद अगर कुछ एक्स्ट्रा चार्ज करते हैं तो उनको वो भी पिंच करता है। सो मुझे लगता है ये तो बहुत डाउन द लाइन हमने बिल्कुल लोड किया हुआ है कि जो क्वालिटी हम कॉम्प्रोमाइज, यानी क्वालिटी जो हम उनसे कमिटमेंट कर रहे हैं उसमें कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज ना हो। दूसरा, जो हम कमिटमेंट कर रहे हैं वो हम उसे डिलीवर करें। और मुझे लगता है कि जो ये कॉमन मैन है, इसको केवल आप अपना घर बना के दीजिए, इससे ज्यादा इनको और कुछ चाहिए भी नहीं।
And then Pradeep, final question, because आपके margins इतने thin है and जो price sensitive customer है, जैसे आपने बोला कि भाई 1000 रुपए भी बहुत है इस customer के लिए, given ऐसे लगता है कि interest rate चढ़ेंगे ऊपर, globally ऊपर जाएंगे, inflation जा रही है, at some stage अपना central bank भी जो है वो interest rates को बढ़ाएगा। गीतांबर जी ने और जयशंकर जी ने भी बोला कि इनपुट कॉस्ट बढ़ रही है, पेट्रोलियम की कॉस्ट है, स्टील, सीमेंट, लेबर। तो आपको लगता है कि ये वाले कस्टमर की एबिलिटी है एब्जॉर्ब करने की?
देखिए, बिल्कुल एब्जॉर्ब कर सकते हैं बहुत इजीली, क्योंकि मैं देखिए लास्ट 5-7 इयर्स की अगर हम बात करें तो जो प्राइस है रियल एस्टेट पे वो बहुत ज्यादा नहीं बढ़ पाया है। अगर आप देखिए कोई भी इंडस्ट्री की बात करिए, वो 5-7 ईयर में ऑलमोस्ट वो डबल पे हो जाती है। रियल एस्टेट की बात करें तो जो प्राइस है वो 2015, 16, 17 में जो प्राइस चलते थे उनसे मुश्किल से 10-5% ऊपर नीचे हुए, वो भी रिसेंटली, क्योंकि अभी जो डिमांड लास्ट 6 मंथ में या 8 मंथ में नजर आई है। मुझे लगता है जो 5 से 10% का जो अगर प्राइस एक्सेलेरेशन है वो इजीली दे कैन ऑब्जर्व। रीजन उसका बहुत साफ है कि ये जो टिकट साइज और ये जो प्राइस के ऊपर घर की अवेलेबिलिटी है, इससे पहले भी नहीं थी। यानी अगर आप 2015 से पहले की बात करें तो ये इस टाइप के यूनिट्स अवेलेबल ही नहीं थे। फर्स्ट टाइम ऐसा हुआ है कि ये यूनिट अवेलेबल हुए हैं, तो मुझे ऐसा कोई चैलेंज इतना बड़ा लगता नहीं है। हाँ, अगर कोई बहुत बड़ा अगर ऐसा चेंज आता है जहां पे प्राइस लगभग 25% से भी ज्यादा ऊपर निकल जाते हैं तो एक चैलेंज वहां क्रिएट होगा। लेकिन आज की डेट में मुझे 5 से 10% का जो प्राइस है अगर बढ़ भी जाता है तो मुझे कहीं कोई ऐसा इतना बड़ा चैलेंज नजर नहीं है।
So, प्रदीप जी, ऐसे कंसेंसस दिख रहा है, मिस्टर जयशंकर ने भी बोला कि 10% तक ऐसे लगता है कि कस्टमर कैन एब्सॉर्ब इट, which Mohit, एक बारी you and I had discussed, and then 10% increase in the sale means is maybe, depending on which city you are in, at least a 20% increase in the cost. So 20% increase in the cost, I don't think so. The cost may have crossed 20% as yet. That's what my thought is.
Yeah, average Anuj, across the country, which we were observing when we did the cost to complete this year, was between a price hike between 3 to 8% was able to mitigate the cost inflation which has happened last year. Now, if you see the trend, actually, the steel prices have actually started to come down from the peaks which had happened. So I think this kind of price hike, I can say an average of 5% is sufficient to absorb the inflation effect. Of course, it changes market by market, segment by segment. I'm just giving you a very ballpark number across the country.
Actually, the problem is not in your new sales. So today, what steel is at 80,000 rupees a ton today. I think it's going to keep going up, and itni jaldi niche aayega nahi. Cement is at 400 rupees a bag. In fact, we were discussing it on the Kadai forum, because RERA does not permit you to charge an escalation. So if you've sold your stock, say 50% at price X, you cannot charge an escalation like other infrastructure sectors can charge, like your road contractors and all. We cannot charge an escalation as per the act. Now, that is where the challenge comes, because what you sold, you have to anyway deliver no matter how high the cost goes, the input cost. And as I see, crude going up, and I don't think it's going to come down to levels of $75, $80 a barrel in a hurry. And coal has gone up, and logistics cost, price, everything. So I think, your steel, cement, your tiles, your copper, your everything is actually going up. So if your input cost is increasing by about 30% on sold, it all depends on how much stock you've sold at price X. If you still have a lot of unsold stock left, then it's good for you. But if you don't, then there's a problem. So that is where, you know, the entire mathematics changes.
Irfan, lots of questions for you. Lots of questions. You know, SWAMI has done a fantastic job. I do want to compliment, you know, the way that you have re-energized the market, the way you have brought back the confidence and the credibility. And I like the way Gitambar said is that initially the thought was that it's a stress project if we are going to SWAMI. And the way that SWAMI has dealt with this entire, you know, initial reputation that it got and done away with. Today, it's become a big thing. As you know, before the panel, I was saying is many of the schemes that we market, which are funded by you, by SWAMI, you know, the developer wants to put it outside. Huge hoardings that this is funded by SWAMI, because that's the confidence that the home buyer gets that this will now get fully delivered. And you've sort of 108 projects approved. I want to start with two quick questions, Irfan. One, what's your criteria of SWAMI? Second, where do you think we guys went wrong? What is the criteria of SWAMI, and where do you think that many of the projects that come to you, I mean, 108 you have approved, you would probably have seen, you know, about 500 projects. Where do you think that the equation went wrong?
Anuj, let me take the second question first, right? Where did we go wrong? And, you know, even as I point out things, let me be very upfront and say that it's easy to say with retrospective, you know, in retrospect, right? So the fault lines were, you know, all around, and real estate at the center, you know, completely cracked as a result, right? It was the developer, it is the home buyer, it was the lending agency as well, all of which have contributed, right? So at SWAMI, we've not done anything dramatically new or, you know, in terms of the way we've approached funding. We've just followed two rules. One, we will try and, you know, fund as much as possible. So it is, you know, last mile in the truest sense. It is complete project financing. We won't be dependent on, you know, the way the other pieces in the jigsaw fit together to be able to complete the project. So that's one big thing that we've done, which is dramatically different from how financial institutions have generally approached or had generally approached in the past. And the only reason we did it, honestly, is because, you know, if we did the same thing, then how are we going to be different? You know, to have different results, you have to do things differently as well. So that's one. The other bit that we've done differently is, one is to sanction, the other is to ensure that the expenditure is going directly into the project. You know, use the trust but verify principle. You know, trust the developer to, you know, partner with the developer so that the developer's entire focus is on construction, yet have a PMC representative to ensure that, you know, what is being invoiced is what is being built. And then our team, which ensures that, you know, what has been cleared is, you know, similar to or in, you know, in accordance with the technical due diligence that you had done at the start. And then do funding in the form of drip irrigation rather than, you know, just flooding the developer with this. So we go to the extent of funding, of reimbursing vendors directly. We go to the extent of paying employees' salaries directly. We pay rental payments directly. So, you know, very little money passes through the developer's account. And, you know, there is, it's not a, you know, statement of trust that we have in the developer. It is just a different approach to lending. It is lending that is taking care of reimbursements of actual expenditure that is happening at the project site, right? So this was not done in the past. This is, you know, how one of the many mistakes that were committed. You know, in addition to that, the fact that developers were, you know, growing maybe faster than they should have. You know, we didn't have a RERA-like regulation in the past. Home buyers have, you know, in so many cases became aggressive enough to destroy the very product that they are buying, right? Through litigations and you know, concerted activism at the site. Sometimes, you know, that effort can be self-defeating, and we've seen that happen as well. So I think it was a culmination of all these factors which led to the troubles in the past. We had the benefit of hindsight, and therefore we've tried not to repeat them.
But Irfan, interesting, the way that you categorize it, that, it was developer, it was the financial institution, the lending financial institution, and it was the home buyer as well that was creating, an activism which led to a problem. And I didn't realize that you're actually so much deep into this that the money is sent from SWAMI directly to the vendors. I thought it would sort of go to the developers, but I didn't realize. I mean, that's a lot of hard work.
So that is probably the most important. This we emphasize over and over again that we act as virtual CFOs for the project. We, it's not a lender-borrower relationship. We have, each person in our team is handling maybe 3, maximum 4 projects, and they are hands-on on, where is the construction happening, how many laborers are there at the site, what payments have been done. So, for example, we try not to do advance payments, but we can't keep our head in the sand and go against what is a accepted business practice. So there are significant discounts to be given. There are vendors who insist on a 50% advance because it's a customized product that they are giving. We give all that, and then we go an extra step there in terms of keeping a tally of what was paid for in advance, what has arrived at the site, what needs to be paid, etc. So to a large extent, it is both parts that contribute it. It's not one. It's not just the fact that we've given the entire funding wherever possible. It's not without, it's with very little dependence on sales and collections. But that is the first step. The second step is to ensure that the money is spent judiciously. And that's what we've tried to ensure.
Irfan, there was an amount of 25,000 crores. I think at the time that it was announced, I think 12,000 crores came in as the corpus. Have you been able to spend that full money? And is there more dry gunpowder coming your way?
So the good news is we've not spent. We will not spend the money till the projects are completed. So, if 50% of the project is completed, 50% of the amount we've sanctioned for that project has been spent. Some of the projects are larger in size, spread, as well as earlier in stage when they've come to us. So those projects will continue to get completed over the next 3 to 4 years. So last mile funding doesn't necessarily mean projects which get completed in 6 months. We have projects which extend to 4 or 5 years, and we have projects which get completed in maybe 3 quarters, and so on. So when we started off with about 10,000 crores. The government is the largest investor and the sponsor of the fund. It is a very active sponsor, so it goes far beyond the sponsor role that SEBI has had for AIFs. It is, it was the idea initiator, and it's been a partner in executing this idea as we've gone along. And they've indicated time and time again that as much funds as are required will be made available. In fact, very recently we've got a soft commitment to increase the size to about 15,000 crores. So there is enough money. There is enough money. In fact, the good news for the rest of the industry, and maybe the bad news for us, right, is the fact that everyone is as optimistic and like you've sounded right from the beginning, what you've heard from the panel members, and therefore the deluge of deals that we got in the first wave of the pandemic and the second wave of the pandemic, that has slowed down, right? That's one. Two, even the amount of capital we've deployed in some of the projects has been, is turning out to be lesser than what we had originally anticipated, because we had not taken the C factor into account, which is SWAMI can act as a catalyst. The very fact that SWAMI is present in a project, right, adds to buyer confidence, existing buyer confidence, and converts walk-ins into customers, so that collections are better, sales are better, and therefore the amount that is needed from a financial agency is less than what was originally anticipated. It has gone to the extent of, Anuj, you mentioned about posters and banners at sites which mention very clearly that SWAMI is the financier. The only point that my team tries to temper there is to ensure that it's very clear that there is someone else who's a developer and SWAMI is only the financier.
My last quick one, and Sachin is asking me to wind this up, Irfan, is that beyond the completion of the development, with SWAMI, helps doing it, you would have seen a lot more positive factors. I'd love to know what are those other things which are sort of intangible, invisible. One of the things that I did start when I asked Gitambar, the first question was the confidence that is coming back into the market. And clearly SWAMI is one of the catalysts that has helped that confidence come in. What are some of the other collateral benefits that you have seen once the projects have got completed?
So beyond collateral, right, the direct impact we've had so far is about 9,000 homes have been delivered, of which 2,700 possession has been given. About 6,000 homes are OC ready, just waiting for they have applied for an OC and are waiting for the OC approval. Wow. We expect to deliver about 12,000 homes every year in the next 3 to 4 years. So that's the direct benefit. In terms of collateral benefit, construction sites, labor generation, our sites have the highest labor density, amongst most sites in that micro locality. So that's one big collateral benefit. The other is, developers with significant repute, developers who are going through stress in a particular project, right, and who could not start or develop other land banks and other projects because of the negativity that has come from a single project, right? They can now approach SWAMI, they can get that situation resolved, and that will give them significant, once that is resolved, it sets the engine rolling, the momentum begins, and they can launch other projects. I think another big benefit that has come from SWAMI is the fact that institutional funding was not, easily available to projects in tier 2 cities. SWAMI is now present in about 42 cities across the country. These include 7 metro cities. So large projects, good projects, stressed projects in some of these locations, who are, nobody's children in a manner of speaking, have now been funded by SWAMI. And Anuj, if I can just take a minute and tell you, you mentioned our score, right? 108, and we hope it's a big 100 and a 200 at some point in time. But let me just put a context to the 108 projects, which will complete about 63,000 homes that we finalized so far, right? That is more than what the rest of the industry has done in the last 2 years since we came into existence. Now, this is obviously caveated by the fact that data is not completely public. We've tried to estimate the data from 3 different IPCs, including your firm. And we've seen that, we've done as many deals as the rest of the PE industry has in the last 2 years. So that's been the extent of our, the effort that we've been able to successfully put in. And that's not a surprise. We are a distress fund. Distress was at its peak or at its bottom in this time. And therefore we did, what we did.
Fantastic, Irfan. Well done. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. And, India's first sovereign fund focused on real estate. So great to be able to see this kind of a success come through. Thank you very much. We've had a fantastic session. Lots of positivity. The industry does appear that it's moving towards maturity. It does look like the consolidation phase is almost coming to an end, and we're going to see a lot more positivity going forward. Hopefully the mistakes of the past, we're not going to make, those mistakes, maybe newer mistakes we will make, but at least those mistakes that we made in the past are not going to be there. Some, challenges that could come in, which is more on the cost and interest, but it does appear that the buyer is willing to absorb some of those incremental costs, and hence, that challenge can be negated. There could be more external challenges with what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. Pradeep, you mentioned about it, and that could flow into other things. But I like the way Mohit said is that the industry has now become quite immune to these challenges, and we are adept at taking on these challenges and maneuvering with the flexibility that we've been able to demonstrate during this COVID times. So thank you very much, Nirja. I'll hand it back to you for the final conclusion.
Thank you very much, Anuj. This is my "I told you so" moment. Didn't I tell you that with Anuj Puri, we'll be covering a length and breadth of topics in such a short span? How much have we really done? So it's excellent, very good session. Indeed, very engaging for audience as well. My thanks to Mr. Gitambar Anand, Mr. Jaishankar, Mr. Malhotra, Mr. Agarwal, and Mr. Kazi for so openly sharing your views with our audience. Last but not the least, once again, my moderator, Mr. Puri, for creating so well articulated storyboard to bring the best out of our speakers. I'm confident the delegates have immensely benefited from our deliberations. And while we take a break for some time, we reassemble again for our next session at 2:30, which is Global Investments in the India Real Estate